Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Seth from Olive, and it's time for another edition of Budget Magic. So, we are on the 1 week countdown until Eldritch Moon hits Magic Online. So next week at this time, we're going to start a whole string of standard budget magics to check out some of the new cards and see what we should be playing in standard on a budget. But I'm kind of happy we got to wait one more week because we have a super sweet modern deck for this week. We're playing a deck I'm calling Aura Swap that is really unique and really fun. It's like Modern Boggles meets Show and Tell. I know that's a weird mix, but trust me on this one. We'll break it all down in just a second. As you can see, 99 bucks in paper, 19 ticks online. First, a quick reminder, if you enjoy Budget Magic, if you enjoy this Aura Swap deck, it would be awesome of you if you could take a minute and click the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. All that stuff is a great way to support the site, so keep that in mind. Anyway, let's break down Aura Swap in Modern. So the main idea of this deck is to get an Eldrazi Conscription, an 8-mana Aura that gives a creature +10/+10, and has Trample, and Annihilator too. So pretty much everything. It turns a creature into an Eldrazi, essentially, onto one of our creatures. The problem with Eldrazi Conscription is it's super expensive, and it's not all that easy to get an 8-mana aura on a creature. But that's where Arcanum Wings comes into play. Arcanum Wings is one of the weirder cards in Magic. This is one of those wacky future sight cards. So it's an enchantment, costs 1 and a blue, enchants a creature, and gives the creature flying. Alright, so it's kind of like a blue Griff's Boon. But wait, it has one more mechanic on it. It has a mechanic called Aura Swap. It's actually the only card in all of Magic that has Aura Swap. And with Aura Swap, we can pay 2 and a blue and swap Arcanum Wings for an aura that's in our hand. So we pay 3 mana, we bounce Arcanum Wings back to our hand, and boom, we put the Eldrazi Conscription into play on the same creature that Arcanum Wings was attached to, and all of a sudden, we're attacking with this massive creature that's annihilating our opponent's board away, and it's just super hard to lose once we do that. So that's the idea of the deck. We want to get an Arcanum Wings on a creature as efficiently and quickly and consistently as possible with an Eldrazi Conscription in our hand, or swap them around and just beat our opponent down with the Eldrazi Conscription on a creature. We also have one Celestial Mantle, which is for situations where Eldrazi Conscription is bad. Eldrazi Conscription is good in a lot of scenarios, almost all scenarios. The one scenario where it's bad is when we would be attacking and our opponent would just sack 2 lands and then swing back with their creatures and kill us. In those situations, we can put a Celestial Mantle on a creature instead. And while we're not annihilating or getting in as much damage, when we deal combat damage, we double our life total, which hopefully keeps us from dying on the backswing. And then we can get the Eldrazi Conscription set up. Once we start doubling our life total, that'll buy us a lot of time to set up the kill with Eldrazi Conscription. So what are we putting these auras on? Well, we're going with the Hexproof Boggle plan. So we got 4 Slippery Boggles, 4 Invisible Stalkers. These creatures are not all that powerful on their own, except they have Hexproof. So it makes sure that we can't get blown out while we're trying to cast our Arcanum Wings on creatures. Our opponent can't just wait till we get an Eldrazi Conscription on something and terminate it. We pretty much have free reign to load these creatures up with our enchantments. Slippery Boggle, part of our nut draw. The most powerful thing this deck can do is turn 1 Slippery Boggle, turn 2 Arcanum Wings, Slippery Boggle, turn 3 Aura Swap, put the Eldrazi Conscription to play, attack. It's almost impossible to lose when we do that. We're going to annihilate our opponent, most likely down to 0 lands, back down to 1 land, and then it only takes 2 attacks to win the game. Invisible Stalker, little slower because it costs 2 mana, but it's better with like Celestial Mantle because it can't be blocked. So while it doesn't matter with Eldrazi Conscription because Eldrazi Conscription gives trample, it does matter with something like the Celestial Mantle, and it's the second best hexproof creature available in blue and white. Academy Researchers is a backup plan. When it enters the battlefield, you can put an aura from your hand onto the battlefield attached to it, so we can literally just show and tell the conscription into play attached to the Academy Researchers. Problem is, doesn't have hexproof, gets blown out by lightning bolt. That's why it's only a 1-of. It does get around Spellskite, which is a nice bonus, and then a single Wind Zendikon, which is one of the weirder ones, but it'll make more sense in a minute. It's a 1-mana aura you enchant a land, the land becomes a 2/2 flyer, and then when the land dies, you get to return it to your hand. So why are we playing a Wind Zendikon? Well, what makes this deck tick is we have 8 cards that tutor for an aura. In the past, we only had Helioid's Pilgrim, a 3-mana 1/2 that lets us search our library for an aura when it enters the battlefield, put it in our hand. Now we have 4 copies of Open the Armory as well. So this deck is actually super consistent at finding all the pieces. Yes, when we have to tutor up a piece, it slows us down by a turn because we're taking a turn off to tutor. But we should be able to very consistently set up the Eldrazi Conscription turn 4, turn 5, thanks to all these tutors. If we have all the pieces in our hand, that's awesome, but if we don't, we can still tutor them up. And the other thing about these cards is it allows us to play a bunch of other weird auras to deal with specific situations. So for removal, we have pacifisms and temporal isolations. Both are auras, so when we're not searching up our Cannon Wings and our Eldrazi Conscription or our Celestial Mantle, we can search up a removal spell. Pacifism just keeps a creature from attacking and blocking, doesn't deal with activated abilities. Temporal isolation, while it's weirded much differently, essentially works like pacifism, except it prevents all damage that would be dealt by the enchanted creature. So pacifism won't stop a Grim Lavamancer, but temporal isolation will. Otherwise, they work pretty much the same. Then we have a couple of auras to protect our creatures. One way our Slippery Boggle and Invisible Stalker can get killed is by a Wrath, a Supreme Verdict, for example, or a Pyroclasm in Anger of the Gods. Hyena Umbra, since it has Totem Armor. If that happens, instead of losing our Invisible Stalker, our Slippery Boggle, we just lose the Hyena Umbra. So it's a protection, a way to keep our creatures alive. And Ethereal Armor not only can pump up our creatures and be like our backup plan, we just play some random auras. Our Ethereal Armor gives a big power and toughness boost. We beat down with the Invisible Stalker for like 5 a turn. It also helps if we are going in on our Helioid's Pilgrim with Eldrazi Conscription, for example, and our Cannon Wings, because it boosts the power and toughness enough that it doesn't typically die to a Lightning Bolt or a Lightning Helix. Doesn't stop all removal, but stops some specific popular removal. And then we have just some random stuff. Spirit Link just helps us gain a little bit of life, stay alive while we're waiting to set up the combo if it's taking us a while. Curiosity, we can stick it on our Invisible Stalker, draw an extra card every turn, helps us find our combo. And then Aqueous Form, sort of like Curiosity, it gives a creature unblockable, which is nice if we need to go Celestial Mantle on a Slippery Boggle. We can tutor up the Aqueous Form to make the Slippery Boggle unblockable, so we're definitely doubling our life. And it also lets us scry one, not quite as good as drawing a card, but still helps us get extra lands out of the way, dig to find our combo pieces to close out the game. And then we get 2 main deck Spreading Seas, which is pretty sweet. It gives us a shot against Tron, also helps with creature lands, also can just mana screw an opponent in the right scenarios. Plus, like all these other auras, we can search them up with our tutors when we're not searching up our combo. Mana base, pretty straightforward. We get 8 budget blue-white duels. I picked these ones in specific because we really want lands that come into play untapped. Our deck really wants to go untap land turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, all the way up to turn 5, really, in some games. So these are the cheapest lands that have a reasonable shot of coming into play untapped, and then just the basic islands and plains. In the sideboard, Burrington Forge Tender, another answer to Pyroclasms, Anger of the Gods, Dispels and Negates, not only can counter Wraths, other sweepers, but they also help us force through our auras against counter spell decks. And then we have some Holy Days. One of the downsides of our deck is we aren't that good at blocking, so there will be situations, kind of like I was describing with Celestial Mantle, we're going to want to swing with our Slippery Boggle that's equipped with our Eldrazi Conscription, hit away half of our opponent's life total, but our opponent's going to have such a big board that they're going to think, oh, we'll just swing back and kill them. But then when they swing, if we have our Holy Day, 1 mana, we fizzle their entire attack, swing again with our Slippery Boggle, equip with the Eldrazi Conscription the next turn, and close out the game. And finally, just a few more tutor targets for specific situations. These are all auras, so we can search them up. Curse of Exhaustion, Key against decks like Storm, anything that's trying to win by playing a bunch of spells in one turn. Domestication, we can steal a Spellskite. Steals a lot of things, but Spellskite in specific is annoying because it makes our plan of enchanting our creatures really difficult. And then Face Fetters shuts down an Oblivion Stone, a Karn, and a Nahiri, plus it gains us a little bit of life along the way. So that is Aura Swap in Modern, and I think this deck is really sweet. It is really consistent at putting together what it wants because of those 8 tutors, and what it does is actually pretty powerful. It's not quite attack with Emrakul, get an Emrakul on the battlefield level of win the game, but Eldrazi Conscription, especially on turn 3 or turn 4, is very likely enough to win most games, especially when it's on a hexproof creature. Anyway, that's been our Aura Swap in Modern deck tech. I hope you enjoy the gameplay videos. Thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you soon.